Hi there, and welcome. Today's story is deeply personal and possibly life-changing. It's about a doctor someone trained to heal others who nearly lost himself in the process. This is more than a tale of burnout. It's about waking up through pain and finally listening to the one voice he had ignored for far too long. His own heart. The heart attack that saved my life. A doctor's story. Let's begin. The relentless rhythm of my life had become a deafening roar. It wasn't a sudden explosion, more like a slow, insidious creep, a silent erosion of my well-being that I, in my self-imposed blindness, had failed to notice until it was almost too late. I was a doctor, a cardiologist to be precise, and irony, that cruel mistress, had decided to make me the prime example of what not to do. My name is Dr. Alistair Humphrey, and this is the story of the day I realized I needed help. It started, as most things do, with good intentions. I had always been driven, ambitious, borderline obsessive when it came to my work. The human heart, that intricate and fragile engine of life, fascinated me from a young age. The rhythmic thump, the silent work it performed, the sheer elegance of its design. It was a symphony of biology, and I wanted to be its conductor. Medical school was a blur of late nights, caffeine-fueled study sessions, and the constant pressure to excel. I thrived, or so I thought. The validation of good grades, the respect of my professors, the sheer intellectual challenge, it was all intoxicating. I pushed myself harder and harder, sacrificing sleep, social life, and any semblance of personal time at the altar of academic achievement. My residency was even more brutal. The hours were inhuman, the stress was relentless, and the emotional toll was immense. I saw things that no one should ever see, faced life and death situations on a daily basis, and learned to cope by burying my emotions deep down inside. I became a master of compartmentalization, able to switch from detached clinical observation to empathetic bedside manner in an instant. But the cracks were starting to appear. I started experiencing frequent headaches, digestive problems, and a persistent feeling of exhaustion that no amount of sleep seemed to alleviate. I brushed it off as stress, a normal part of the job. Everyone feels this way, I told myself. Just push through it. And I did. I pushed through the fatigue, the anxiety, the growing sense of emptiness that gnawed at me from the inside. I excelled in my field, earning a reputation as a skilled and dedicated cardiologist. I landed a coveted position at a prestigious hospital, a place where I could make a real difference in people's lives. And for a while, I did. I saved lives, relieved suffering, and felt the satisfaction of knowing that my work mattered. But the relentless pace continued. The demands of my job were constant. The pressure to perform was immense, and the boundaries between my professional and personal life blurred to the point of non-existence. I was always on call, always available, always ready to drop everything and rush to the hospital at a moment's notice. My patients became my priority, their needs always taking precedence over my own. I started neglecting my own health. I ate poorly, grabbing whatever I could find between appointments. I stopped exercising, claiming I didn't have the time. I slept even less, my mind racing with worries about my patients, upcoming procedures, and the ever-present fear of making a mistake. My relationships suffered. I had no time for my friends, my family, or even myself. I became isolated, withdrawn, and increasingly irritable. My wife, Sarah, tried to talk to me, to express her concerns about my well-being. But I brushed her off, telling her that I was fine, that I just needed to focus on my work. She grew increasingly frustrated, feeling ignored and unappreciated. The distance between us widened, and the love that we had once shared began to wither. I didn't notice. I was too busy, too focused on my work to see the damage I was inflicting on myself and those around me. Then came the incident. It was a Tuesday morning, and I was already running late. I had a full schedule of appointments, a complex angioplasty to perform, and a mountain of paperwork to catch up on. As I rushed through the hospital lobby, I felt a sharp pain in my chest. It was a crushing, squeezing sensation, like an elephant was sitting on my chest. I gasped for air, my vision blurred, and I stumbled against a wall. For a moment, I thought I was going to die. The irony was almost unbearable. Here I was, a cardiologist, someone who dedicated his life to treating heart disease, and I was having a heart attack myself. I managed to make it to a chair, where I sat slumped over, trying to catch my breath. A nurse saw me and immediately recognized the signs of distress. She called for help, and within minutes, I was surrounded by my colleagues, who were now my caregivers. They rushed me to the cardiac catheterization lab, where they performed an emergency angioplasty. It turned out I had a significant blockage in one of my coronary arteries. I was lucky to be alive. As I lay in the recovery room, hooked up to monitors and IVs, I had time to reflect on what had happened. The pain in my chest had subsided, but the emotional pain was just beginning. I realized that I had been living my life on autopilot, ignoring the warning signs that my body and mind had been sending me for years. I had pushed myself to the brink of collapse, sacrificing my health, my relationships, and my own well-being in the pursuit of professional success. It was a wake-up call, a harsh and painful reminder that I was not invincible. I needed help. I started by admitting to myself that I had a problem. It was a difficult step, but it was essential. I had always prided myself on being strong and independent, but I realized that true strength lies in recognizing your weaknesses and seeking help when you need it. I reached out to a therapist, someone who could help me process my emotions, manage my stress, and develop healthier coping mechanisms. Therapy was challenging, but it was also incredibly helpful. I learned to identify the triggers that led to my burnout, to set boundaries between my work and personal life, and to prioritize my own well-being. I started saying no to extra shifts, delegating tasks to my colleagues, and making time for activities that I enjoyed. I also started taking better care of my physical health. I ate healthier, exercised regularly, and made sure to get enough sleep. It wasn't easy, but I slowly began to feel like myself again. I also started working on my relationship with Sarah. I apologized for neglecting her, for putting my work ahead of our marriage, and for not listening to her concerns. We started going on dates again, spending quality time together, and rediscovering the love that we had once shared. It took time, but we were able to rebuild our relationship, stronger and more resilient than before. The road to recovery was long and challenging, but it was also incredibly rewarding. I learned valuable lessons about the importance of self-care, the power of human connection, and the need to prioritize your own well-being. I realized that true success is not measured by professional achievements, but by the quality of your relationships, the health of your body and mind, and the joy you find in everyday life. I still work as a cardiologist, but my approach to my work has changed. I am more mindful, more compassionate, and more aware of my own limitations. I no longer sacrifice my health for my career, and I make sure to prioritize my relationships and my own well-being. I am a better doctor, a better husband, and a better person because of it. The day I realized I needed help was the most difficult day of my life, but it was also the most important. It was the day I started taking responsibility for my own health and well-being, the day I started living my life on my own terms, and I am grateful for it. Now, years later, I sometimes lecture to young medical students and residents. I tell them my story, not as a cautionary tale, but as a testament to the power of self-awareness and the importance of seeking help. I tell them that it's okay to admit that you're struggling, that it's okay to ask for help, and that it's okay to prioritize your own well-being. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else. And that, I believe, is the most important lesson of all. The human heart, that intricate and fragile engine of life, requires care and attention, not just from doctors, but from the person who houses it. Listen to your heart, both literally and figuratively. It will tell you what you need to know. Don't ignore the whispers until they become screams. Learn to recognize the signs of stress, burnout, and emotional distress. Seek help when you need it. And remember, you are not alone. There are people who care about you, people who want to help you, and people who understand what you're going through. Don't be afraid to reach out to them. Your health, your happiness, and your well-being are worth it. It wasn't just the physical sensation of the chest pain that shook me to my core. It was the sudden, stark realization of my own mortality. Here I was, steeped in the science of life, intimately acquainted with the delicate balance that sustained it, and I'd been actively sabotaging my own. The irony was a bitter pill to swallow, but it was also the catalyst for change. The days following my angioplasty were a blur of tests, medications, and hushed conversations. My colleagues, once peers, now assumed the roles of concerned physicians. Their kindness was genuine, but it also amplified my sense of shame. I had become the patient, the one reliant on their expertise and care. It was a humbling experience, one that forced me to confront the reality of my situation. As I recovered, slowly and painstakingly, I began to delve deeper into the reasons behind my burnout. It wasn't just the long hours and the high-pressure environment. It was also my own perfectionism, my insatiable need for validation, and my inability to delegate or ask for help. I had created a self-imposed prison, fueled by my own ambition and insecurities. The therapy sessions were a lifeline. My therapist, Dr. Eleanor Vance, was a compassionate and insightful woman who gently guided me through the process of self-discovery. She helped me identify the underlying patterns of behavior that had led to my burnout and develop strategies for breaking free from them. One of the most challenging aspects of therapy was confronting my own emotional avoidance. I had spent years suppressing my feelings, burying them deep down inside where they wouldn't interfere with my work. Dr. Vance encouraged me to acknowledge and process these emotions, to allow myself to feel the pain, the anger, and the sadness that I had been so desperately trying to avoid. It was a painful process, but it was also liberating. I began to understand that emotions are not weaknesses. They are valuable sources of information that can guide us towards greater self-awareness and well-being. Another important aspect of my recovery was learning to set boundaries. I had always been a people pleaser, eager to accommodate everyone else's needs, even at the expense of my own. Dr. Vance helped me understand that it's okay to say no, that it's okay to prioritize my own needs, and that it's okay to disappoint others. I started setting limits on my work hours, delegating tasks to my colleagues, and making time for activities that I enjoyed, such as reading, hiking, and spending time with my loved ones. Rebuilding my relationship with Sarah was another crucial part of my recovery. I had neglected her for too long, prioritizing my work over our marriage and our shared dreams. I started making a conscious effort to reconnect with her, to listen to her needs, and to show her how much I loved her. We went on dates, took weekend trips, and spent quality time together, rediscovering the joy and intimacy that we had once shared. It wasn't easy. There were moments of tension, resentment, and doubt, but we persevered, committed to working through our issues and building a stronger, more resilient relationship. Slowly but surely, we began to heal the wounds of the past and create a new foundation for our future. As I recovered, I also began to explore other avenues of self-care. I started practicing mindfulness meditation, which helped me to stay present in the moment and to reduce stress and anxiety. I also started journaling, which allowed me to process my thoughts and feelings in a safe and private space. And I started exercising regularly, which boosted my energy levels, improved my mood, and helped me to feel more connected to my body. The journey to recovery was long and arduous, but it was also transformative. I emerged from the experience with a newfound appreciation for the importance of self-care, the power of human connection, and the resilience of the human spirit. I learned that true health is not just the absence of disease. It's a state of holistic well-being that encompasses our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual dimensions. And I learned that it's never too late to turn your life around, to prioritize your own well-being, and to create a life that is filled with meaning, purpose, and joy. The day I realized I needed help was the day I started living, and I am eternally grateful for that realization. The experience has profoundly changed the way I practice medicine. I am now more empathetic, more compassionate, and more attuned to the emotional needs of my patients. I understand that they are not just bodies with failing organs. They are whole people with complex lives, fears, and hopes. I take the time to listen to their stories, to understand their perspectives, and to offer them the support and guidance they need to navigate their health challenges. I also advocate for a more holistic approach to healthcare, one that addresses not only the physical symptoms of disease, but also the underlying emotional, social, and environmental factors that contribute to illness. I believe that healthcare should be about promoting well-being, not just treating disease. And I am committed to doing my part to create a healthcare system that is more compassionate, more equitable, and more effective. My experience has also inspired me to become an advocate for mental health awareness. I speak openly about my own struggles with burnout and emotional distress, hoping to break down the stigma surrounding mental health issues and encourage others to seek help when they need it. I volunteer my time at local mental health organizations, providing support and education to those who are struggling with mental health challenges. And I work with medical schools and hospitals to develop programs that promote mental health and well-being among healthcare professionals. I believe that mental health is just as important as physical health, and that we need to create a culture that supports and values mental well-being. And I am committed to doing my part to make that happen. The journey from burnout to well-being has been the most challenging and rewarding experience of my life. I have learned so much about myself, about human nature, and about the importance of living a life that is aligned with my values. I am now more grateful, more resilient, and more compassionate than I ever thought possible. And I am determined to live each day to the fullest, to appreciate the small joys of life, and to make a positive difference in the world. The heart, that intricate and fragile engine of life, has taught me many lessons. It has taught me about the power of resilience, the importance of self-care, and the transformative potential of human connection. And it has taught me that true health is not just the absence of disease. It's a state of holistic well-being that encompasses our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual dimensions. Listen to your heart. It will guide you towards a life of health, happiness, and fulfillment. Thank you for listening. If this story touched something deep inside you, if you've been pushing yourself too hard, or ignoring your own heart's quiet cries, maybe this is your wake-up call too. You're not weak for needing help. You're human. If this message resonates with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who might need it. Leave a comment below. We read every one. And remember to subscribe for more stories that heal, inspire, and connect. Until next time, take care of your heart, not just the one in your chest, but the one in your spirit.